Welcome to the Department Chair Leadership Podcast, where the goal is to improve organizations and serve students one leader at a time. I'm your host, Dr. Chris Yoakum. If you're a department chair in higher education or any type of educational leader, and you want to improve yourself to better serve and influence those you lead, you've come to the right place. Because the best way to improve an organization is to improve its leader. Let's get started. Welcome back, friends, and thank you for taking some time to invest in yourself and those you serve by focusing on your leadership development. Today I want to share with you and impress upon you the fact that leadership is a day job. What do I mean by this? Well, I wish it meant that you are only the leader during business hours, Monday through Friday, that you were only accountable and on call, although I think we all realize that we live the job 24/7, but that's not the case. So why is the title of this podcast, Leadership is a Day Job? Well, what I mean by that is that in order to serve others to the best of your ability, you need to focus on each and every day. Take a just for today mindset. Now, granted, you do things the right way, and successful days, I always say, they stack upon each other and they grow with interest. And before too long, your intentional, consistent daily actions have created a positive servant-based culture. So why am I doing this? Well, because as leaders, as you know, we are in the people business, and people can be the most unpredictable variable on the planet. And as leaders who are committed to serving others, we must take a purposeful approach to each and every day. So finally, as you should know, what do I want for you? Well, what I want for you from this podcast is, in the end, realize that, yes, leaders are in the people business. And since none of us are perfect, remember, you will never have a perfect group of people, and they will never have a perfect leader. Taking a day-by-day approach will help you afford yourself and others grace, compassion, and many times the benefit of the doubt. As you most likely realized about 10 minutes into your first official day on the job as a chair, your daily agenda and the type of problems you were asked to solve were very different than your typical day as a faculty member. You also probably learned very quickly that you are not entirely in charge of your daily agenda anymore. If this was a bit of a shock and possibly hard to handle, no worries, you're normal. But keep in mind that our daily agenda and actions don't lie. I always say, show me someone's daily agenda and actions, and I will show you their true priorities. Remember, when we move from a faculty member to a chair, we have to be willing to give up to go up. And so if you have somebody who, despite making the title change and maybe even changed offices, if by and large that leader is still doing most of the things that they did before, and they're approaching the leadership job as maybe an add-on, I would say to some extent that's problematic, because that person is not 100% committed to the job, which is serving others. They have not been willing to give up their previous passion, their previous life, their previous daily agenda for the new one of being a servant leader. Because remember, leadership is a verb. It's something that we do. So if you're in this for the right reasons, and you need to establish the proper day-by-day mindset by focusing on 5 questions. So I'm going to pose 5 questions here and talk a little bit about them, but they are questions that I think will help you. And while you could ask yourself each of these every single day, I think in reality what you're going to find is in different scenarios throughout the day, just reminding yourself of these or certain ones will help reset your focus and help you serve others. First of all, though, remember, main focus is 5 daily questions. First of all, though, while this is a question, it's more foundational. It's not part of the main 5, but it's still important. We need to ask ourselves every day, multiple times throughout the day, okay? You could ask yourself this almost as much as you check your phone. Which self am I serving today? I don't care what's on your agenda as a leader. I don't care if it's dealing with conflict, if it's doing something with stakeholders. It's which self am I serving today? So that's a foundational question that we must ask day by day, because as a leader, while you still have professional things to do, by and large, you're not the most important person on your agenda anymore. Remember, you gave up that right by becoming the chair. So ask yourself, which self am I serving? We have two selves. Am I selfish and just thinking of what's in it for me? How can I prove my worth? How can I one-up somebody, put my thumb on them, show them who's the boss, all those things that real courageous leaders with integrity would never do? Or am I selfless and within reason, placing other people first? So first thing, always check ourselves. Which self am I serving? Am I just being selfish or selfless and making this, it's not about me? And so after we establish this, then there are 5 questions, and I do talk about these a little more in my book, The Department Chair, A Practical Guide to Effective Leadership. You can always find that at my website, cjleadership.com, along in the show notes. But the 5 questions that I'd like to share with you, because I do promise you these are going to help you, especially on the difficult days. Now, full disclosure, okay, I am a proud native Nebraskan, and I'm a college football fan, and volleyball fan, and basketball fan, and all of the things. And so if you are not aware, the University of Nebraska at Lincoln, for many years, has had one of the nation's strongest female volleyball programs. And they're led by Coach John Cook. He's won 4 national championships, 13 conference titles, multiple Final Fours. And in his book, which I would encourage all of you to read, regardless if you're into sports, because leadership is influence. He's a great leader. There's a lot of great takeaways. But in his book called Dream Like a Champion, Wins, Losses, and Leadership, the Nebraska Volleyball Way, he shares 3 of his daily guiding questions, which are the following: who needs me today? Would I be chosen again for this job? And would I want to be coached by me? And so what I have done is I've taken the liberty to both modify and extend these to make them more applicable to chair leadership. So big takeaway today, that the top 5 questions that we need to ask ourselves every day to make sure that we are not just serving ourselves, but we're in it to serve other people. Because remember, success is defined daily, not in a day. Success is basically the compound interest over time of us doing the right things consistently. So the first one, as a leader, who needs me today? Now, in some way, shape, or form, everyone in the organization needs you directly or indirectly, but everyone has different needs, different days. Remember, humans are very, very are variable elements. And so I promise you, the value of building relationships is you need to get a feel for the different ways somebody might need you on different days. For example, let's say that somebody was waiting to hear back on whether or not they had a grant awarded, or some type of scholarship, article was accepted, or they're up for some award. That person, believe it or not, might need you to check in, show them you're supportive, see how it's going. You might kind of get a feel intuitively that someone's maybe struggling a little bit. It's okay, reach out, send them an email. I believe it's Doug Conant, who does a lot of leadership talking and writing, is a great CEO, I think most recently of Campbell's, the soup company. One of the big takeaways from his work is, he hand wrote thousands and thousands and thousands of letters to people during his time as a CEO. So even in this day and age of texting and direct messaging and all of that, never underestimate the value of a handwritten letter. So who needs me today? Be aware of this and know that some people are going to need you in different ways. But everyone you serve needs you every day. For example, when you are addressing conflict, you are serving. Everyone in the unit needs you to address that. Even though you may only be having a conversation and interaction with a limited few, you are still sending a message and serving everyone. Number 2, would I be hired again? Now, this might at first sound a little interesting, but this does a few things for us. Would I be hired again? First of all, it keeps us humble, and it also keeps us competitive. We don't want to become too complacent, because we certainly don't want to digress and a few years in say, wow, I don't know if I would be hired again. This also, it enables you to grow as well, because you don't know what your plans are. I always tell people, make sure that you are staying competitive on the market. For whatever level of job or institution that you hope to be at, you aspire to be at, but asking yourself, would I be hired again? I think that just keeps us, it just enables us to keep up the momentum and to realize that we are never done, certainly as leaders, and we don't want to become too complacent. Number 3 of the 5 questions that I encourage leaders to ask themselves every day. Would I want to be my chair or my leader today? Now, I can tell you as a former public school teacher, and this is even relevant when you're, teaching any level of education. At the end of any class period, any day, it always helps us, hey, would I have enjoyed being my teacher today? So let's just talk about that. Would I want to be my chair or leader today? Powerful question. Be the leader you needed. We've all had good and not so good leaders in our life. So hopefully we have somewhat of a template to aspire to. So step back, and to what extent were you close to what you know is great leadership? We're not perfect. You're going to fall short some days. But in what areas did you fall short, and how can you try to avoid that in the future? So again, be the leader that you that you needed. And by asking, wow, would I want to be my chair or leader today? It enables us to, in some ways, humble ourselves and to step back and either reaffirm that we are doing some good things, or reveal that there are some things that we need to get better at. And the folks that you serve are going to understand and see. It'll show. Like I said, it takes vulnerability. You got to be vulnerable to ask all these questions. Who needs me today? Would I be hired again? Would I want to be my chair or leader today? Number 4 of the top 5 daily questions. Am I willing to be uncomfortable for others? In many ways, this is how you could define, what's courage as a leader? Well, there's a lot of ways to define it, but I really do believe at the end of the day, are you willing to be uncomfortable in the service of others? And uncomfortable usually could be with an uncomfortable conversation. Maybe you do things that aren't your preference, but you know that in the service of others, it needs to be done. So am I willing to be uncomfortable for others? That means I need to stand up and be courageous, and also realize that to be uncomfortable for others, I have to admit it's not about me. Remember, it's not all about us. It starts with us as a leader, but it's not all about us. And am I serving others? Oftentimes being uncomfortable for others, we do that so they are comfortable, meaning they are able to do their job. They have that mastery, purpose, autonomy. They feel valued, seen, and heard. It doesn't mean we don't hold them accountable, but when I say we as leaders oftentimes have to be uncomfortable so they can be comfortable. Comfortable means they have what they need to be successful and can do their jobs, and they understand and know that they are valued and supported. Yeah, it does mean sometimes we have to be uncomfortable, but again, a very powerful guiding question on a daily basis. Am I willing to be uncomfortable for others? Number 5. Does my attitude and daily agenda say, I deserve or I am here to serve? Now, we're human. There are going to be days where we just things get tough, we really wish we could just serve ourselves and, I don't know, go home or hide under the desk, and it happens. And while I do encourage everyone, we have to take time to do those things that Stephen Covey talks about, sharpening sharpening the saw. You have to take care of yourself. But we need to step back, and it doesn't matter, especially if we're in an uncomfortable situation. Am I in this because I deserve, or I'm here to serve? Remember, one of the reasons that you should never become a leader of any kind is you're entitled to it. I deserve this. No. You need to be here to serve. So this is something that we can check ourselves on, ask ourselves multiple times. Hey, who am I serving here? Am I here to serve others, or am I getting a little too selfish and I'm making this more about me? I'm trying to one up somebody. I'm trying to show them power and authority, most of which is a myth. I mean, leaders, there's inherent power, which comes from the title. There's some things that people will just do because you're the boss. But by and large, there's just some earned, respectful, I guess we'll call it power, but by and large, you want people to respond to you because of who you are, and they know that you have their best interest at heart, and you can give them rationale. Nobody likes to just act out of fear. So by checking ourselves, I deserve, or I'm here to serve. And like I said, it's easy to adopt a woe is me mindset, and if they only knew what I did for them, and that's part of the job. Good leader is a filter. They probably, if you're doing the job right, folks aren't going to understand or realize a good portion of the things that you do to enable them to do their job, right? Like I said before on question number 4 is you might have to be uncomfortable so they're comfortable. And also remember, when we're asking ourselves, I deserve, or I'm here to serve, if we're feeling a little selfish or run down, hopefully we chose this job. Nobody is promoted simply as a chair. We receive promotion and tenure as faculty members. Okay, everything else is just kind of extra. So we chose this job too. So that also helps get us in the right mindset, and maybe is natural. It's natural to be selfish at times and want to do things for, put ourselves first. But this question really helps us check that. So to recap here, goal for today was leadership is a day job. No, it doesn't mean it's just 9 to 5 and you're a leader during the day or only a chair. It means that a lot of what you do, whether it's establish a culture, build relationships, it's something that you do daily, and it almost in some ways resets, and you get up and you do it again, and it's over time things, you build, we grow through addition and multiplication, which turns into growing. It turns into interest, right? It accrues over time. Think of it as financial growth. And so every day we need to first make sure that we're not here serving ourselves first more than others. We need to be more selfless and selfish. And then the 5 daily questions that, whether you can ask them every day of yourself or just be aware, and when maybe based upon the situation, maybe remind yourself. So again, number 1, who needs me today? It's going to be someone different every day in a different way. Would I be hired again? Okay, let's let's be humble. Let's still be, let's not be complacent. Let's make sure that we're growing. We're not regressing. Number 3, would I want to be my chair or leader today? Would I have enjoyed working for me? Was I the leader that I needed? Number 4, am I willing to be uncomfortable for others? It takes courage to do that. It's not about us as leaders. It's about ensuring that others are comfortable and can do their job. And then number 5, does my attitude and my daily agenda, does it say I deserve, or I'm here to serve? So, friends, I hope this has been of value, that you can take something away with these 5 daily questions. As always, I thank you for joining me on the Department Chair Leadership Podcast. I wish you well, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Department Chair Leadership Podcast. If you want to learn more about my leadership philosophy and how to be an effective chair, please consider my book, The Department Chair, A Practical Guide to Effective Leadership. You can find this and learn more about me by going to cjleadership.com. Also, please be sure to like this podcast, leave a review, and share with your colleagues. Thanks again for improving your organization and those you serve by improving yourself. Take care.